A single encrypted message arrived at Commander Daeho Kang's ship 3 days after the destruction of Krelios Prime. The message came from the most unexpected source. Imperator Velkresh himself. Meet me alone. Neutral space. Coordinates attached. We must talk, human, before there is nothing left to save. Daeho knew it could be a trap. But he also knew Velkresh was right. If they did not find a solution soon, the galaxy would tear itself apart. He took a small shuttle and flew to the coordinates alone. The meeting place was an abandoned trading station orbiting a dead star. Velkresh waited there in his personal craft. When Daeho entered the station, he found the Imperator standing in the central chamber. The ancient warrior looked tired. For the first time, he looked old. "Why did you call me here?" Daeho asked, his hand near his weapon. "Because I was wrong," Velkresh said simply, "and because you are not like your Admiral Minho. You understand the danger? What do you mean you were wrong?" The Imperator pulled up a holographic display. It showed ancient records, written in languages dead for millions of years. "I told you the Krelians conquered the galaxy. That is not entirely true. We inherited it. From the precursors. The precursors did not die in war. They discovered the Void Forge and used it to reshape reality. At first, they created wonders. They moved stars. They created new forms of life. They thought they were gods. Then they made a mistake. One too many uses of the technology. Reality collapsed. An entire arm of the galaxy simply vanished. Trillions died. Daeho felt cold. Dr. Yu was right. We are making the same mistake. Yes. The Krelian Empire was founded on one principle. Prevent anyone from ever finding the Void Forge again. For 50,000 years we succeeded. We conquered. We controlled, but we kept the galaxy safe from extinction, until we found it. Yes. And now you have used it so much that the damage may already be irreversible. My scientists have detected the same space-time fractures your Dr. Yu discovered. If we do not stop this, the cascade failure will begin within months. Daeho sat down heavily. So what do? We work together, my scientists and yours. We find a way to seal the damage before it is too late. Minho will call me a traitor for this. Then we are both traitors to our people. But we will be heroes to the galaxy. Daeho and Velkresh worked in secret. They brought together the best scientists from both civilizations. Dr. Heejin Yu led the research. She discovered that the original Void Forge was not just a weapon, it was also a repair mechanism. The precursors had built it with the ability to heal space-time damage. But using it required someone to merge completely with the artifact. To become a living bridge between dimensions. The person who does this will not be human anymore, Heejin explained. They will exist partially in normal space and partially in the quantum realm. They will feel every use of Void Forge technology across the galaxy. It will be agony, and they can never return. I will do it, she said. No, said Daeho. We will find another way. There is no other way. I created this technology. This is my responsibility. But before they could act, Admiral Minho discovered the alliance. He was furious. He arrested Sunho for treason and prepared to seize control of Earth government completely. His plan was simple and terrible. Build massive Void Forge weapons and use them to destroy the Krelian Empire entirely. He did not care about the damage to reality. He only cared about winning. Daeho and Velkresh had to act fast. They gathered their combined forces and prepared to stop Minho by any means necessary. But Minho had loyal followers too. Human against human, Krelian against Krelian. The war had become civil war on both sides. The final battle took place in the ruins of Krelios Prime. Minho brought his fleet there to deploy his ultimate weapon. It was a Void Forge bomb powerful enough to erase entire regions of space. He would use it to destroy the Krelian home systems. Never mind that it would also trigger the cascade failure that would destroy the galaxy. Daeho and Velkresh arrived with their combined fleet. The battle was chaos. Human ships fought other human ships. Krelian vessels attacked their own kind. And in the middle of it all, reality itself was already starting to unravel. The accumulated damage from months of Void Forge use was reaching critical mass. Lieutenant Jaiwan Park led the fighter squadrons. She had refused to use Void Forge technology since the disaster. Now she flew with conventional weapons, trying to reach Minho flagship before he could launch the bomb. Daeho command ship pushed through the battle toward the horizon edge. The old salvage vessel that still carried the original Void Forge. Hyejin was there, preparing for what she had to do. Minho weapon was charging. Sensors showed reality fractures spreading like cracks in glass. They had minutes at most. Daeho reached the horizon edge and ran to the artifact chamber. Hyejin was already connected to the Void Forge, her body glowing with energy. She looked at him with sad eyes. I have to do this now. Tell everyone I am sorry. Sorry for what I created. Sorry for what it cost us. You saved us all, Daeho said. That is what they will remember. Minho weapon fired. A wave of destructive energy erupted from his flagship, tearing through space itself. But at the same moment, Hyejin completed her merger with the Void Forge. Her consciousness exploded outward, filling the quantum realm. She could see everything. Every use of Void Forge technology across the galaxy, every fracture in spacetime, every tear in reality, and she had the power to heal them. She reached out and reversed time itself, not for the entire galaxy, just for the regions affected by Void Forge technology. Minho weapon vanished as if it had never fired. The Krelio system reappeared, restored to the moment before its destruction. All the damage from months of warfare simply undid itself. But Hyejin could not undo what she had become. Her body dissolved into pure energy, merging completely with the Void Forge. She existed now at the boundary between dimensions, a living seal keeping reality stable. She would remain there forever, alone in eternal vigil. Daeho watched as her physical form faded away. He reached out, but there was nothing to touch. She was gone. And yet somehow he could still feel her presence. She was everywhere and nowhere, human and something more. Across the galaxy, every Void Forge core shut down simultaneously. The technology that had nearly destroyed everything became inert, harmless. The war was over. Could manage. Commander Daeho Kang sat in his quarters, his head in his hands. They had escaped the Acheron Nebula, but he knew the Krellians would not give up. They had seen what the Void Forge could do. They would hunt humanity across the entire galaxy to get it back. Dr. Hyejin Yu was in the medical bay. The ship's doctor said she was physically fine, but Daeho could see the change in her eyes. She was connected to the Void Forge now, even though they had brought the artifact aboard the ship. Even though it sat in a sealed cargo bay, Hyejin could still feel it. She said it whispered to her, showing her things no human should know. 3 days later, they reached Earth's moon base. The United Earth Council was waiting for them. These were the leaders of humanity, but they looked more like frightened children. They had received the transmission from the Krellians. Imperator Velcresh had sent a message to every human world: surrender the Void Forge or face total destruction. Daeho stood before the council in a large white room. 50 leaders from across human space stared at him. Some looked angry. Some looked terrified. Ambassador Sunho Lee, the human representative to the Galactic Council, spoke first. Commander Kang, you have doomed us all. The Krellians will not stop until they have the artifact. We must surrender it immediately. Surrender? Admiral Minho Choi stood up. He was old, his hair white, but his voice was strong. We finally have a weapon that can fight the Empire, and you want to give it away? We have been slaves for 500 years. This is our chance to be free. Arguments erupted across the room. Daeho waited for them to quiet down. When they finally did, he spoke. The Void Forge is too dangerous to give to the Krellians, but it might be too dangerous for us too. Dr. Yu needs time to study it, to understand how it works. If we surrender it, the Empire will use it to conquer every free species in the galaxy. But if we use it carelessly, we might destroy ourselves. So what do you suggest? Asked Sunho. We learn. We prepare. And we defend ourselves. Nothing more. After hours of debate, the council voted. They would keep the Void Forge. They would study it. And they would prepare for war. Hyejin worked day and night in a secret laboratory beneath the moon's surface. She was not alone. The best human scientists joined her, but she was the only one who could truly interface with the artifact. The Void Forge had bonded with her neural implants. She could see its memories, its purpose, its terrible power. It changes reality, she explained to Daeho one day. The precursors built it to manipulate the laws of physics. Gravity, time, quantum states, everything. They thought they could become gods. Instead, they destroyed themselves. Can we control it better than they did? Hyejin hesitated. Maybe. We are building smaller versions, cores that can be installed in ships. They will be much weaker than the original, but still powerful. Powerful enough to fight the Krellians. How long do we have? The Krellians gave us 7 days. We have used 4. Lieutenant Jiwon Park volunteered to test the first prototype. She always volunteered for the dangerous jobs. Her new fighter looked the same on the outside, but inside, a Void Forge core hummed with power. When she activated it, she felt the universe open up around her. "I can feel everything," she said over the radio. "The gravity of the moon. The radiation from the sun. I can change it." "Try a simple maneuver," said Hyejin. "Phase shift." Jiwon thought about moving through solid matter. The fighter flickered and passed through an asteroid like it was made of smoke. She laughed with amazement. "This is incredible. We can do anything with this technology." But Hyejin looked worried. She had seen what happened when the precursors thought they could do anything. On the 7th day, the Krellians came. 10,000 warships appeared at the edge of human space. It was the largest fleet anyone had ever seen. Imperator Velkresh sent his final message to Ambassador Sunho. "Your time is up. Surrender the Void Forge, or we will take it from your ashes." Sunho looked at the message with sad eyes. He had spent 30 years trying to make peace with the Krellians. Now all his work was destroyed. Admiral Minho Choi smiled. "Let them come. We are ready." The human fleet was tiny compared to the Krellians. Only 300 ships, but each one now had a Void Forge core. Daeho commanded the defense from his new flagship, the Defiant. Jiwon led the fighter squadrons. The Krellian vanguard attacked first. 500 battlecruisers moved forward, their weapons blazing. The humans did not run. They did not hide, they phased. The human ships became like ghosts. Krellian weapons passed through them harmlessly. Then the humans solidified inside the enemy formation. Void Forge weapons tore reality apart. Krellian shields meant nothing. Their armor meant nothing. Human ships materialized inside Krellian battlecruisers and ripped them open from within. Jiwon's fighter squadron danced through space like nothing the Krellians had ever seen. She created gravity wells that crushed enemy ships like tin cans. Other pilots froze time around their targets, leaving them floating helplessly while missiles tore them apart. In 15 minutes, the Krellian vanguard was destroyed. 500 battlecruisers reduced to debris and empty space. The humans had lost only 12 ships. Imperator Velkresh watched from his command throne, his face frozen in disbelief. In 50,000 years, the Krellian Empire had never lost a battle. Never retreated. Never shown weakness until now. "Fall back," he ordered. "All ships. Return to Krellian space." His officers stared at him. "Imperator, we still have 9,000 ships. We can overwhelm them." "No," said Velkresh quietly. "We cannot. The humans have learned to use the Void Forge. They are no longer prey. They are predators now. And we need a new strategy." The Krellian fleet vanished into hyperspace. On the human ships, cheering erupted. They had won. They had actually defeated the Empire. Daeho did not cheer. He felt a cold weight in his chest. They had won one battle. But he knew this was just the beginning. The Krellians would return, and next time, they would be ready. Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of his ship, his eyes blazing with triumph. "This is our moment. We should push forward. We should take the fight to them." Ambassador Sunho contacted him immediately. "No, we agreed to use the Void Forge only for defense." "Defense?" Minho laughed bitterly. "The Krellians have oppressed us for centuries. They have taxed us, controlled us, treated us like animals. Now we have the power to free ourselves. To free everyone they have conquered. We would be fools not to use it." Other captains began to agree with him. The taste of victory was sweet. The feeling of power was intoxicating. In her laboratory, Hyejin felt a chill run down her spine. She could sense the Void Forge cores on all the ships. They pulsed with energy, hungry for more use. And each time they were used, she felt something else. Something wrong. Tiny tears in the fabric of space. Too small to see. Too small to measure. But they were there. And they were growing. The ship drifted through the dark clouds of space. Commander Daeho Kang stood on the bridge, watching the screens with tired eyes. His crew called their vessel the Horizon's Edge, and it was old, patched together with parts from a dozen different ships. They were salvagers now, picking through the garbage of space to sell whatever they could find. Daeho had not always been a salvager. 5 years ago, he commanded a fleet of warships. Then the Krellians came. They destroyed everything in minutes. His ships burned. His crew died. He survived, but sometimes he wished he had not. The Krellians ruled the galaxy. They had ruled it for 50,000 years. Humans were nothing to them. Just another weak species to control. The Acheron Nebula spread out before them like a wall of purple and black. No ships came here. The Krellians had forbidden it. They said the nebula was dangerous, filled with radiation that would kill anyone who entered. But Dr. Hyejin Yu did not believe them. She believed something else was hidden here. Hyejin was young, maybe 30 years old. She studied ancient civilizations, the ones that had died millions of years ago. She said there were ruins in the nebula, built by beings called the Precursors. Most people thought she was crazy. Daeho thought she might be right. "Commander, I'm picking up something," said Lieutenant Ji-won Park from her station. She was their best pilot, quick and smart. "There's an energy reading deep in the asteroid field. It's strong. Really strong." Daeho walked over to look at her screen. The energy signature pulsed like a heartbeat. It should not exist. Nothing in nature made energy like that. "What do you think?" he asked Hyejin. Her eyes were wide with excitement. "It's what I've been looking for. It has to be. We need to go there." "It could be a trap," said Daeho. "The Krellians might be waiting for us. Or it could change everything," Hyejin said. "We're barely surviving out here, Daeho. We need this." He looked at his crew. They were tired, hungry, desperate. They needed money to repair the ship, to buy food, to keep going. Maybe Hyejin was right. Maybe they needed to take the risk. "Ji-won, prep your fighter. You're going in for a closer look." Ji-won smiled. She loved flying. "Yes, sir." The fighter launched from the horizon's edge like a silver dart. Daeho watched on the screens as Ji-won flew through the asteroid field. Rocks the size of mountains floated past her. Radiation storms crackled with purple lightning. But Ji-won was good. She dodged everything. "I see it," her voice crackled through the radio. "There's a structure. It's huge. And it's perfect. No damage at all." "Can you land?" Daeho asked. "There's a platform." "I'm going in." Daeho's hands gripped the edge of his chair. This was it. Either they found something valuable, or they had wasted their last fuel coming here. Ji-won's camera showed a building made of black crystal. It seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing with a faint blue light. The door was open as if it had been waiting for someone. "I'm going inside," Ji-won said. "Be careful," said Daeho. The inside of the structure was vast. A single object stood in the center of a huge chamber. It looked like a pillar of crystal, 10 meters tall, covered in more of the glowing symbols. Energy pulsed through it like blood through veins. "Daeho, you need to see this," Ji-won whispered. "Bring Dr. Yu, bring everyone." They took a shuttle down. Daeho, Hyejin, and 4 crew members wearing environment suits. When they entered the chamber, even Daeho felt it. Power. Raw, overwhelming power. It made his teeth ache. It made his skin crawl. Hyejin walked toward the crystal pillar like a woman in a dream. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Don't touch it," Daeho warned, but she did not listen. Her hand reached out, trembling, and pressed against the crystal. Light exploded through the chamber. Hyejin screamed. Her body went rigid. Data poured into her mind through her neural implants. So much information that her brain should have burned out. She saw civilizations rising and falling. She saw stars being born and dying. She saw the precursors, beings of pure energy, building this device. She saw them destroy themselves with it. Then it stopped. Hyejin fell to her knees, gasping. Daeho ran to her side. "What happened?" "Are you okay?" She looked up at him with wide eyes. "It's a weapon. The most powerful weapon ever created. It's called the Void Forge." Before Daeho could respond, alarms shrieked through their radios. Ji-won's voice cut through the noise. "Commander!" Ships just appeared. Krellian warships. A whole fleet. Daeho's blood turned cold. "How many?" 20 battle cruisers. And 1 flagship, the biggest ship I've ever seen. They had been followed. Or worse, the Void Forge's activation had drawn the Krellians here. Either way, they were dead. The Horizon's Edge could not fight even 1 battle cruiser, let alone 20. A voice boomed through all frequencies. It was deep and ancient, filled with absolute authority. "Humans, you have found what should have remained lost. I'm Imperator Velcresh, commander of the Imperial Fleet. Surrender the artifact immediately. This is your only warning." Daeho looked at Hyejin. She was still connected to the Void Forge somehow. He could see it in her eyes. They glowed with the same blue light as the symbols. "Can you control it?" he asked quietly. "I don't know. It's in my head. It's showing me things. How to use it. But it's too much. It's too powerful. If you don't try, we all die here. The Krellians will kill us and take the Void Forge." Hyejin nodded slowly. She stood and placed both hands on the crystal. The symbols blazed brighter. Energy began to spiral around her body. "Everyone get back," Daiho shouted. On the horizon's edge, Jiwan watched in horror as 6 Krelian battle cruisers moved into attack position. Their weapons charged, ready to fire. They would destroy the structure and everything in it. Then Hyojin released the power. A wave of energy erupted from the Void Forge. It was not an explosion. It was something worse. Space itself seemed to tear apart. The 6 battle cruisers simply vanished. Not destroyed, not blown apart, just gone. Erased from existence as if they had never been there at all. On his flagship, Imperator Velkresh stared at the empty space where his ships had been. For the first time in 1,000 years, he felt fear. "Retreat," he whispered. Then louder, "All ships retreat. Full speed." The Krelian fleet vanished into hyperspace. Daiho and his crew stood in the chamber, trembling. They had just witnessed something impossible. They had just made enemies of the most powerful empire in the galaxy, and they had found a weapon that could fight back. 1 year had passed since the end of the Void Forge War. The galaxy was learning to rebuild, learning to trust again, learning that peace was possible even between ancient enemies. Admiral Minho Choi stood trial before the Galactic Council. He was found guilty of crimes against civilization and sentenced to life in prison. Many wanted execution, but Ambassador Sun Ho Lee argued for mercy. Minho had been consumed by hatred and fear. Killing him would solve nothing. The Void Forge cores were systematically destroyed. Every ship, every weapon, every device that used the technology was dismantled. Humanity kept only basic defensive capabilities, enough to protect themselves but never enough to threaten the galaxy again. Imperator Velkresh surprised everyone by announcing reforms to the Krelian Empire. He dissolved the old military government and created a council system, where conquered species had real representation. It was not democracy, not yet, but it was a start. The ancient warrior had learned that strength alone could not hold an empire together. Ambassador Sun Ho Lee became the chief architect of the new galactic order. The Galactic Council was reformed with actual power. Every species had a voice. Disputes were settled through negotiation rather than war. It was imperfect, but it was progress. Humanity earned a permanent seat on the council, not because of their military power, but because they had proven something important. They had held ultimate power and chosen to give it up. They had faced extinction and chosen mercy over revenge. The other species respected that. Lieutenant Jiwan Park retired from military service. She could not forget what she had done, even though it had been undone. The billions she had erased from existence were alive again, but the guilt remained. She became a teacher instead, training new pilots in conventional combat. She told them about the Void Forge, about the temptation of ultimate power, about the price of using it. "Do not make my mistake," she told them. "True strength is not about destroying your enemies. It is about knowing when to stop." Commander Daiho Kang retired too. He left military life and returned to the horizon edge. The old salvage vessel was now a monument, preserved in orbit around Earth-Moon. Inside, the Void Forge still pulsed with quiet energy, but it was sealed now, protected, guarded. Daiho became the keeper of the shrine. He was the only person who could still communicate with Dr. Hyejin Yu. Once a week, he would sit in the artifact chamber and reach out with his mind. Sometimes she answered, "Are you in pain?" he asked one day. Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere, always. "But it is bearable. I exist between moments, between dimensions. I can see all of space and time simultaneously. It is beautiful and terrible. Do you regret it?" "Never. I saved them all. The Krelios system is restored. The people who died are alive. Reality is stable. That is worth any price. I miss you. I miss being human. But I am still here, Daiho. I will always be here. Watching, protecting, making sure that what we built does not fall apart." Years passed. Humanity integrated fully into galactic society. They were no longer outsiders, no longer treated as inferior. Their ships traveled freely through space. Their colonies prospered. Their culture spread and mixed with others. Human scientists no longer focused on weapons, made breakthroughs in medicine, agriculture, and clean energy. They helped terraform barren worlds. They cured diseases that had plagued other species for millennia. They proved that innovation could heal instead of destroy. The story of the Void Forge War spread across thousands of worlds. It became a legend, Different species told it in different ways, but the core remained the same. A young species found ultimate power and almost destroyed everything. But they chose restraint. They chose sacrifice. They chose to become guardians instead of conquerors. The Krellian Empire remembered most of all. For 50,000 years they had been the strongest. They had crushed anyone who challenged them. But humanity had challenged them and won, not through strength but through wisdom. The Krellians had learned humility from beings they once considered primitive. Vel Kresh visited Earth once, years after the war. He met with Deho at the Voidforge Shrine. The two old warriors stood together looking at the artifact that had changed everything. "I was wrong about your species," Vel Kresh said. "I thought you were weak, incapable of handling real power. But you were stronger than any of us, strong enough to let go." "We learned from the precursors' mistakes," Deho replied, "and from our own. That is all any species can do. Do you think there will ever be another war? Probably. Species fight. It is in our nature. But maybe we can keep the wars small. Keep them from destroying everything. Dr. Yu will make sure the Void Forge is never used again. She watches over us all now. Yes, the galaxy greatest guardian, and humanity greatest sacrifice." In the quantum realm, Hijin listened to their conversation. She could hear everything, see everything. She existed in all places and all times simultaneously. It was lonely beyond description. But it was also necessary. She monitored the fabric of reality constantly. If anyone ever tried to create something like the Void Forge again, she would know. She would stop them. That was her purpose now, her eternal duty. But she also watched humanity with pride. They had grown so much, from a species barely surviving on one planet to respected members of galactic civilization. They brought hope wherever they went. They solved problems instead of creating them. They built bridges between enemies. Perhaps that was what made humanity special, not their weapons, not their technology, but their ability to change, to learn, to choose a better path even when the easy path seemed more tempting. 20 years after the war, a young human girl visited the Voidforge Shrine on a school trip. She looked at the crystal pillar with wide eyes. "Teacher, is it true that someone lives inside that thing?" The teacher nodded. "Yes. Dr. Hyejin Yu. She gave up everything to save us all. Why did she do it? Because someone had to. And she understood something important. Power without responsibility is destruction. She had helped create terrible power, so she took responsibility for controlling it. Will she ever come back? No, but she is not really gone. She is everywhere, protecting us, making sure we never make the same mistakes again." The girl reached out toward the crystal but did not touch it. "Can she hear us?" Old Deho, now serving as the shrine caretaker, smiled. "Yes, she can hear everything." The girl spoke to the artifact. "Thank you, Dr. Yu. Thank you for saving us." In the quantum realm, Hyejin felt the gratitude. It warmed something in her that she had thought was lost. Maybe she was not entirely alone. Maybe her sacrifice had meaning beyond just preventing catastrophe. She whispered back, though only Deho could hear. "You are welcome, little one. Live well, live peacefully. That is all I ask." The galaxy continued to turn. Stars were born and died. Species rose and fell. But the Void Forge remained, silent and powerful, with its eternal guardian standing watch. Humanity had proven that they were never meant to hold ultimate power. No species was, but they had also proven something more important. That when given such power, they had the wisdom to recognize its danger, the courage to sacrifice for others, and the strength to walk away. That was why the Empire had trembled in fear. Not because humanity was strong, but because humanity knew when to be weak, knew when to surrender power for the greater good. That kind of wisdom was more dangerous to tyrants than any weapon. And so the story ended. Not with humanity conquering the galaxy, but with humanity becoming its conscience, its reminder that power must always be balanced with wisdom. That victory means nothing if you lose yourself in pursuit of it. Dr. Hyejin Yu would watch forever. Commander Deho Kang would remember forever. Lieutenant Jiwon Park would teach forever, and humanity would carry forward the lesson they had learned at such great cost. Some powers should never be held. But if they must be held, let them be held by those who understand the weight of that burden. Let them be held by those who are willing to sacrifice everything to keep that power from destroying what it was meant to protect. Humanity had been tested and had passed. The galaxy was safer for it. and somewhere between dimensions a guardian smiled and kept watch over them all. 6 months passed. Humanity had changed. The victory against the Krellians had awakened something in them. For centuries they had been weak, controlled, afraid. Now they tasted power and they wanted more. Admiral Minho Choi had become the most powerful man in human space. The council still existed, but everyone knew Minho made the real decisions. He pushed the human fleet forward, conquering system after system. They liberated colonies that the Krellians had enslaved. They seized strategic positions. They showed no mercy. Commander Daeho Kang watched this transformation with growing dread. He had agreed to fight for humanity freedom. But this was not freedom. This was conquest. The same thing the Krellians had done to them. "We are becoming what we hated," he told Jiwon one night. They sat in the mess hall of the Defiant, exhausted after another battle. Jiwon did not meet his eyes. She had changed too. She had killed so many Krellians. At first each death had bothered her. Now she felt nothing. Just the rush of using the Voidforge core, bending reality to her will. "They oppressed us," she said quietly. "For 500 years. Maybe it is their turn to be afraid. Is that justice? Or is that revenge?" She stood and walked away without answering. Dr. Hyojin Yu spent her days in the laboratory, studying the data from every Voidforge activation. What she found terrified her. Each time they used the technology, it left damage behind. Tiny fractures in space-time invisible to normal sensors. But Hyojin could see them through her connection to the original Voidforge. She ran the calculations again and again, hoping she was wrong. But the math did not lie. If they continued using Voidforge technology at this rate, the accumulated damage would trigger a cascade failure. Space itself would collapse in a chain reaction that could destroy entire regions of the galaxy. The precursors had not died in a war. They had destroyed themselves by using the Voidforge too much, and humanity was making the same mistake. Hyojin brought her findings to the council. She showed them the data, explained the danger, but Admiral Minho dismissed her concerns. "This is theoretical," he said. "You cannot prove that this damage is real or dangerous, but I can prove that the Krellians will return if we show weakness. We must continue the offensive." "The precursors destroyed an entire region of space," Hyojin said desperately. "Millions of star systems gone forever. We are following the same path. The precursors were careless. We are not," the council voted. Hyojin warnings were noted but ignored. The war would continue. When she tried to access the Voidforge cores to shut them down, she found her security clearance had been revoked. They had locked her out of her own research. Only Daeho believed her. He came to her laboratory late one night. "How long do we have?" he asked. "At the current rate of use? Maybe a year. Maybe less, and then reality breaks, and we all die." Admiral Minho launched his greatest offensive. He called it Operation Liberation. The target was Krelios Prime, the capital world of the Empire. If they could capture or destroy it, the war would be over. The Krellians would have no choice but to surrender. 500 human ships jumped into the Krelio system. They found it defended by 3,000 Krellian warships. Imperator Velkresh had been waiting for them. The battle was brutal. Human ships phased through enemy formations, their Voidforge weapons carving through armor and shields. But the Krellians had learned. They fired area effect weapons that damaged everything in a region, whether phased or not. They used quantum disruptors that prevented human ships from phasing at all. Jiwon flew through the chaos, her fighter weaving between explosions. She felt the Voidforge core singing in her mind, begging to be used. She gave it what it wanted. She created a massive gravity well that crushed 50 Krellian ships into a single point. Then something went wrong. The Voidforge core in her fighter overloaded. Energy poured out uncontrollably. She tried to shut it down, but it would not respond. The gravity well grew stronger, pulling in everything around it. Her fighter, other human ships, Krellian vessels. Even light itself could not escape. "Help me," she screamed into the radio. "I cannot control it." Daeho watched in horror from the Defiant. The gravity well was becoming a singularity, a black hole that would consume everything in the system. But something worse happened. The accumulated damage to space-time reached a critical point. All the tiny fractures from months of Voidforge use suddenly connected. Reality itself began to tear. The Krelio system did not explode. It did not burn. It simply stopped existing. The star, the planets, the billions of Krellian civilians who lived there, all of it vanished. Erased from reality as if it had never been. The human fleet jumped away just in time. When they emerged in normal space, everyone was silent. They had witnessed something impossible, something terrifying beyond words. G1 fighter had escaped at the last moment. She sat in her cockpit shaking, tears streaming down her face. She had killed billions of people. Not in battle, not with weapons. She had simply erased them from existence. Ambassador Sun Ho Lee stood before the Galactic Council. Every species in the galaxy had sent representatives. They all stared at him with fear and hatred. "You have destroyed an entire star system," said the council leader. "Billions dead. You are worse than the Krellians ever were." Sun Ho had no defense. He had warned them. He had begged them to stop. But no one had listened. "We did not intend this," he said weakly. "It was an accident." "An accident?" The council leader voice was cold. "You unleashed a power you do not understand. You have killed more in one day than the Krellians killed in a century. You must be stopped." Back on Earth, the human government fractured. Admiral Minho insisted they continue fighting. "We cannot show weakness now. The other species will unite against us. We must strike first." Deho stood and faced him. "No, no more. Hijin was right. We are destroying the galaxy. Then you are a traitor. If stopping this madness makes me a traitor, then I am proud to be one." Daiho walked out of the council chamber. Behind him, half the military officers followed. They would not fight this war anymore. They would not use the Void Forge, even if it meant standing against their own people. Jiwon found Hyejin in the laboratory. The scientist was working frantically, trying to find a solution to the damage they had caused. "Can you fix it?" Jiwon asked. "Can you undo what I did?" Hyejin looked at her with exhausted eyes. "Maybe. The original Void Forge might be able to seal the tears in space-time. But someone would have to merge with it completely. Give up their humanity. Become a living regulator between dimensions. Then I will do it," said Jiwon. "This is my fault." "No," Hyejin said softly. "It is mine. I built this technology. I made it possible. If anyone should pay the price, it should be me." Outside, the galaxy trembled. Humanity had proven it could hold unimaginable power. Now it had to prove it could let that power go.